Hi, I'm Steve Farber. I'm the author of The Radical Leap Re-Energized, Doing What You Love in the Service of People Who Love What You Do. Just came out in November of 2011. And I have a story to share with you today that relates to this book. It's a story that I believe will inspire you if you're the kind of person, the kind of leader that really strives to make a difference every day. If you're the kind of person that doesn't look at the phrase change the world as some kind of a cliche, but as something that you actually strive to do every day. Let me begin the story with the punchline. The punchline is really a call to action for folks like you. It's a call to action that was inspired by the story I'm about to tell you. So here's the punchline. For every book, for every copy of The Radical Leap Re-Energized that moves through the retail channels, like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, 800 CEO Read, your local bookstore, etc., my publisher and I are going to give a copy to a very specific group of leaders in need, educators. So again, for every book that moves through the retail channels, my publisher and I are going to give a copy to an educator in the K-12 world here in the U.S. Now, why are we giving this to educators? Why do they need this? And how could I be so arrogant as to think that my book is going to somehow make a difference for them? Those are all great questions. I'm going to answer them for you now in the following story. But let me just start out by saying that this was not originally my idea. It was theirs. Let me take you back for a moment to April of 2004, when the first version of this book, The Radical Leap, A Personal Lesson in Extreme Leadership, was originally published. So if you're not familiar with my work, LEAP lays out a framework for extreme leadership: love, energy, audacity, and proof. That's the LEAP. Cultivate love, generate energy, inspire audacity, and provide proof was the model of leadership that I was presenting to the business world. Because, you know, I'm a business guy. This is my background. So I was really shocked when right away I started to hear from educators. I heard from principals and superintendents and teachers from all around the country who wrote to tell me that they had gotten their hands on this book somehow, they had read it, and it connected with them because it gave them, on one level, it gave them permission to bring their hearts back into their work, to reignite their love for children and for education, and to see themselves not just as teachers and administrators and principals, but as leaders, and as leaders who are developing our future generation of leaders. And they all reached out to me by email and by phone, independently of each other, to ask me, what are you doing, Farber, to bring these ideas, to bring extreme leadership into the field of education? And my answer in the very beginning was nothing. Nothing. It hadn't even occurred to me. You and I already know that the field of education is terribly broken. I mean, this is such a vital issue to all of us, and it's so complex that it seems intractable. And there are lots of people, lots of very incredibly intelligent and passionate people who are working on trying to solve the problem from a systemic and policy point of view. And I wish them the best of luck. I don't claim to be the guy with the answers, not by a long shot. But what I've learned from my educator friends, what they're telling me is that love, energy, audacity, and proof, that the radical leap and the ideas of extreme leadership that spring forth from those principles offer them a framework to begin changing the world of education right now where they live. In other words, in their districts, in their schools, and in their classrooms. That's the place to start. They can make a difference right now, regardless of how broken everything seems to be on the macro level. So this campaign that we're involved in, this campaign of giving a book to an educator for every book that we sell through the retail channels, is really just my way of trying to give back. And it's based on a response to what they're asking for. What they're telling me, what they're telling us, is that these ideas can help, so can you please help spread them to the field of education? Now, one way to do that is by launching a campaign to sell it to educators, which frankly I just don't feel good about doing. Educators, for one thing, don't have any money to work with right now. They're stretched to the maximum. So instead of trying to convince them that this is a good book for them to buy, I just want to give it to them. And I'm asking your help to do that. We'll be rolling out the logistics and the details of this campaign in the weeks to come, but please don't wait. If you have any interest at all in your own leadership development, if you have any interest at all in bringing your team along on this leadership journey, if you want to build an entire company of extreme leaders, then go out, get yourself and your team and your company copies of The Radical Leap Re-Energized, and for every copy that you buy, we're going to set aside a book for an educator. And when you do that, please send me an email at steve@extremeleadership.com so I can thank you personally and keep you in the loop on this great story as it emerges. thank you so much for your efforts in your own personal development as a leader and in helping to change the world of education at the very same time. We'll talk to you soon.